Does it feel like you're leaving money on the table? Struggling to increase your productivity and profitability? Check out the Personal Power Transformation Program at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com/transformation and apply for a consultation with Jean Buehner to get things moving in the right direction. Welcome to another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Jean Buehner. It's not just about dreaming. It's about making those dreams a practical reality. Subscribe to us via your favorite network by visiting our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. Now, get ready. Your journey to success starts here.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Jean Buehner, with another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, where we talk everything business with a little bit of a slant on energy and mindset work and how that impacts not only your personal life, but also your business decisions. I have a special guest with me here today, but before I get to Jeff, I want to remind my listeners that there is a free resource for you if you're feeling tense or upset or nervous or frozen with regard to your financial situation or some financial decisions you need to make, or just the state of the economy in whatever country you're living in. jeanbuehner.com/vow, VOW. You'll find some EFT tapping protocols that will help calm down your nervous system so that you can make decisions from a place of calm rather than a place of fear or a reaction. jeanbuehner.com/vow, or just click on the link in the show notes below. And so now, on to my very exciting guest. This is someone who's never been on my show before. It's Jeff Buehner, and he has an interesting take on life in general. So, Jeff, welcome. Happy to have you here.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so tell our listeners a little bit about you.
I'm an average, normal guy who has had a magical life, starting basically at the age of 33, when I learned something that really helped me. And I'm going to share that with your audience, but if it weren't for that, I'd have nothing to share, nothing you'd want to hear.
So talk to me about how that journey went. You did not start out in this type of a world, right? You started out in construction world, didn't you?
Yeah, started out, I grew up on a farm. I was used to hard manual labor, and we were very proud of how hard we worked. We bragged about it to each other. We talked about it all the time. We looked down on other people, city slickers. We had all kinds of names for people who didn't work hard like we did. And that was a core belief of mine, a deep-seated belief that the only honorable way to make money was to work hard for it. And I went into my adult years with that mindset and found out that it was very difficult to make the kind of money I wanted to make with that core belief that I could only really trade time for money, and I had to work hard manually to get money. And at some point, it just became untenable. I had to do something different.
But isn't that really common? Isn't that what we're taught growing up? That you have to work hard for your money, that it's if you don't earn it, then you shouldn't have it, right? You guilt yourself into working harder to make more money, because if you have money that you didn't earn, then you're a bad person or you don't deserve it, right?
Well, I think it depends on who your parents are or who the people around you are. If you're surrounded by farmers, that's what you're going to learn. If you're surrounded by businessmen who are in the finance world, you're going to get taught something very different. And those beliefs sort of dictate how life is going to turn out for you until you learn to change them.
So how did you learn to change them? throw you to the wolves.
Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So I was a concrete contractor, just working hard for my money, and I felt, great about what I did. But I was falling behind financially a little bit all the time. Every month, it seems like I was going a little bit backwards. And one day I had the opportunity to talk to a new hero. This was someone I was working for, pouring concrete on their property. And she and her husband remodeled these beautiful old homes and made a lot of money doing it. And I admired them both for a lot of reasons. I had an opportunity to speak to her one morning, and it started out positive enough, but it kind of declined into me complaining. And it was the old shtick, the old story I told to anyone who listened. And that was, I outwork everyone I know, and yet life is so unfair because some of my friends who have rich fathers, they're driving around in BMWs and they hardly work at all. And right in the middle of that sad story, she turned around and just walked away. And it was an incredibly embarrassing moment for me because I knew I had an opportunity to speak to someone who could teach me, and I blew it. So there I was.
Very strong pattern interrupt, which is actually a good technique to use sometimes.
Yeah, it really was. She came back just a few minutes later, and she had what I call now a manuscript, but it was really just a stack of papers, connected with a big staple-looking thing. And she handed that to me and said, read this tonight and bring it back to me in the morning. And if you know anything about concrete workers, there's no time to read anything. I worked until 7 or 8 at night. I'd fall into bed. My alarm clock went off at 5:30 in the morning. I had to be on the job site by 6:30 every morning. I didn't plan on reading that, but as it turned out, I read the first page as I lie in bed and stayed up all night long reading the rest of it and taking notes. And that manuscript changed everything from that minute forward. If you don't have a question about it, I'll just kind of plow forward, Gene, and tell you what was in it. Because, listen, this told the story of a real man in history, Sultan Musa of Mali. He was one of the wealthiest men to ever live. You take Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who you know, you combine their wealth and you get close to Sultan Musa of Mali, but you don't pass him. And this man lived in the 1300s in West Africa. And by the way, he didn't start out wealthy. He started out dirt poor. His father died when he was very young. That plunged him and his mother into unbelievable poverty, the kind where his mom couldn't even guarantee him one meal a day. It was rare that she could feed him. So he learned to steal food and scrounge for food, and he became a pretty good thief. At the age of 12, he fell in with an older thief, and together they pulled off an incredible heist. But instead of sharing the wealth with Musa, the older thief sealed him in a cave and left him to die, which he did. He had what we would call today a near-death experience. And this changed everything for little Musa. And he came back with some new knowledge and turned his life around. Now, I often ask people, what if I told you that there's a language you're speaking right now that has nothing to do with words coming out of your mouth, but whatever you say in this language, that's the way it's going to be for you. And additionally, if you change what you're saying in this language, your physical circumstances will change to match. And there's literally nothing you or anyone else can do to stop that change from happening. Would you want to learn about this language?
Yeah, that's actually kind of, I'm going to tell you where my head went.
Thank you.
And I'm going to actually go back to the language that people use to And I'm going to go back to you talking to your the people that your clients that you were working for. They did a pattern interrupt to the language you were using and the vibration your body was living in. And that's something that even I have to catch myself occasionally using words that are so disempowering, right? Because when you use certain words, certain language, the whole physiology of your body changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes your outlook, it changes your results, it changes your view of what's going on around you. So I don't know if that was anything to do with what you were saying, but that's what was coming into my head as you were talking.
You're on the right track, absolutely. So Musa called this language the language of the gods. And he said, anything you say in this language, the world obeys your commands. So this is what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to tell you what happened to me when I started speaking this language. And I'm going to tell you what the language is and how to speak it. And it is not difficult to learn. In fact, you're doing it right now. And I promise you, whatever you're saying in this language, your physical world matches. So if you want to keep things the same, keep speaking this language the same way. But if there's anything you want to change, you need to change the way you're speaking this language. And if you do, that aspect of your life is going to change. You can't stop it. So you ready to jump into this language?
Let's go for it.
All right. First of all, I'm going to tell you what happened to me when I read the manuscript and it was spelled out perfectly. This is what's happening. This is how you're speaking this language. This is what the language is. And this is how you change it. And I had literally nothing to lose. I was unhappy about my finances. I was unhappy. I didn't want to keep working that hard my whole life. My marriage was suffering a little bit because I never helped out with the kids. We never did anything fun. Holidays meant nothing to me except maybe Christmas or Thanksgiving. But I worked all the time, 6 days a week, take Sunday off, and that was about it. So my wife was getting kind of miserable and feeling like she was all alone, and she's happy I was paying the bills, but that's about all I was doing. And there I read this, whatever you say in this language, the world is going to obey your commands. So the first thing I'm going to use it on, and by the way, this isn't just about money. You can use it on any aspect of life, but I chose money. And this is well documented within just a relatively short period of time. After speaking the language of the gods around money, a new business came to me. It fell into my lap. It fit me like a glove. I knew exactly what I was doing in that new business. And I went from making 60 to 80,000 a year to making that much and more every single month. And it just happened very naturally. And people can relate to this, where sometimes you chase something, and the harder you chase it, the more elusive it gets. And when you hear what the language of the gods is, and I'm going to tell you what it is in just a minute, and I'm not going to hold anything back. When you change how you speak this language, life comes to you. The things you want, the things you're saying come to you. And people have experienced that typically. You probably have, Gene, where you chase something, and then maybe you quit chasing it because you changed how you feel about it. And all of a sudden, boom, there it is. This happened to me when I thought I was ready to get married and I was dating and looking for a spouse. And man, every person I dated, it was just there was something wrong with them, or they thought something was wrong with me. And it just did not gel, wasn't gelling. And finally, the very week I gave up and decided I'm not looking anymore. I might just have to be single. Maybe that's my personality. And I just went on a chill fest. No more looking, no more asking, no more dating. Boom, I meet my wife. And we'd been happily married, well, at least married, and mostly happy, some tough years, for 40 years.
Wow.
A lot of people can relate to this. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business person, you need opportunity to come to you. That's the definition of prosperity. You need to run into people who want your service. You need things to come to you. If you're always chasing it and it's elusive, you're suffering and you're not succeeding. And people can relate to that too. I mean, if you're in real estate, you're an agent. It doesn't have to happen this way every time, but it has to happen where you go to the store and you're just shopping and you run into somebody and they say, oh my gosh, we just decided to list our home today. And now I run into you. How about that? You know, you need some of that. If it's always you just pounding on doors and making calls from your list, it's miserable and you'll quit eventually. You've got to have things come to you. And I promise you, you can learn how to make that happen. So let's jump into this. The language of the gods, according to Musa, and he wrote extensively, by the way, he was a very benevolent man. He became extremely wealthy long before he became sultan, by the way. He had his own independent money. And he wrote, not for himself, not even for his kids, but for you and for me, so that we could do what he did. Basically, seize control of your future and make it what you want it to be. And it revolves around speaking the language of the gods. This language is feelings. Now, don't skip over this. Don't just, oh, yeah, feelings I've heard, from Abraham, what's her name, that you got to get in the feeling place of the thing you want. No, this literally, feelings are self-fulfilling prophecies. Feelings are how it's going to be for you. However you feel about your finances, for example, that's how it's going to be for you. You're going to make it that way. Other people are going to read your feelings and fit you into certain cubby holes and keep you where your feelings say you're supposed to be. And I can do demonstration after demonstration where you can see this in other people. Somebody who's feeling surly and ornery, they can come into a room of otherwise happy, kind people, and 3 minutes later, there's a shoving match and shouting and anger. And the reverse is true. Someone who feels happy and loving and full of excitement and life for people, they can come into a room where people are surly and cross, and pretty soon you have people slapping each other on the back and telling jokes and introducing each other and getting along. However you're feeling about any aspect of your life, that's how it's going to be. And that's why people who were raised by an abusive parent often find themselves married to an abusive person. And you think, how is that? My sister wouldn't put up with that for 5 seconds. And yet, other people will go from relationship to relationship to relationship and find those abusers every dang time. It'd take a miracle. But your feelings deal in miracles. This whole world is a miracle. You're a miracle. The fact the sun comes up and goes down at the right time and the rains come and things grow and you can eat what's grown, and it's all a miracle. We're the exact right distance from the sun. If we were any further away, we'd freeze to death. If we were any closer, couldn't live here. We'd all burn up instantly. The whole thing is a miracle. So the language of the gods is feelings. Now, I'm going to skip a whole bunch here because I'm going to give you my video book for free. And there's a lot in there that you can, if you're interested, go ahead and get that. download it for free and watch it, and you're going to learn all the details of this. But I can't go through all of that in this time we have allotted. So I'm going to skip to when you wake up in the morning. That's the best time to analyze how you feel about, say, your relationship or your finances or your level of fitness. Because when you wake up, you habitually start thinking the same thoughts and feeling the same feelings about your life that you did yesterday, a year ago, 3 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And you can literally write down in that moment, how do I feel about my finances? And I guarantee you, the way you feel about them is the way it is. And you're going to say, Jeff, it's the other way around. That's the way it is. So that's why I feel the way I do about my finances. Okay, here's the fun part. When you change how you feel about money and about your opportunities and about what you deserve to have come to you, things will change and you'll be able to see them change. And then you'll realize, yeah, it is the other way around. The way I feel creates the circumstances that causes my life to match my feelings. So just please accept that, well, you've heard the saying, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yes.
Way more accurate, Jean, to say if you feel you can or you feel you can't, you're right. So how do you change your feelings? If you wake up tomorrow morning and do my little exercise and you say, how do I feel about my finances? And you write down, not good. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't have any opportunities. You got a problem, right? So how do you feel good about your opportunities and about what could come to you and your finances if that's how you feel tomorrow morning? I'm going to tell you. I'll answer my own question here. You have an innate God-given gift. It's an ability. You were born with it. It's been with you your whole life. You're really good at it. But you were taught to quit doing it. And this is your ability to imagine and pretend, to get lost in make-believe scenarios and build a make-believe world around you. Now, remember back when you were a kid, you could get lost in a make-believe world and stay there for hours and hours, and other kids would pitch in and you would just announce, I'm the sheriff, or, I'm a rock star. And the other kids didn't say, no, you're not. You're not a... They would just play along. Okay, you're the sheriff. I'll be the bad guy, or I'll be your deputy. They just played along, and whatever they said they accepted it, you accepted it. You didn't say, hey, that log you're sitting on, that's not your horse. Well, you just went along with, okay, that's your horse, and I'll go sit on this rock, and this is my horse. Okay, when you pretended to be the sheriff, or you pretended to be famous, or you pretended to be rich, you pretended to be anything, why did you do it? Jean, why did you pretend to be a princess? And don't tell me you didn't.
Because it made me feel like I was a princess.
Yeah, it was fun. It felt good. All right, so people will say, well, Jeff, I mean, is Jean going to really be a princess if she stays with that pretending and feels like she's a princess? The answer is no and yes. Okay, so no, you may not actually become a princess in a country where your dad is the king and your mother's the queen. However, what you view, the feelings you associate with being a princess can be yours in real life. It'll just be a different set of exterior circumstances. Maybe you marry someone very wealthy, or you come onto an idea and you become very wealthy, and you can drive the kind of car that a princess would drive, and you're living the life a princess would live, you feel like a princess. So the exterior circumstances might surprise you how they change, but the feelings are going to match over time if you stay in them.
I have to jump in here.
Please do. Please.
Just because it's hilarious that you chose that example. My father, every time he was Air Force, so he traveled all over the world. But when he would be gone and he would send me letters, it would always be addressed to Princess.
Oh.
How is that?
How sweet.
And so I grew up being taught that I could do anything I wanted to do, and I could be anything I wanted to be. And that is how I've lived my life. So it's very interesting that you chose that example.
That's great, Jean. That's wonderful. You know, that brings me to this idea that if you can get good at feeling the way you want to feel about any aspect of life, and by the way, this doesn't have to do anything with anything that's going on in reality. You can have a crappy financial situation and feel great about your finances, your opportunities. I'm going to teach you how to do this specifically in just a second.
Cool.
And if you do that, you're going to see things change. What would that look like? Well, we call them coincidences. If you change how you feel and stay in those feelings of, say, good finances, having plenty and to spare, tons of money coming in, things are going to happen that you'll just write off as, oh, that was a weird coincidence. But if you're taught, if you listen to me, you read my book, you're going to be looking for those. And when they happen, you're going to acknowledge them and give thanks for them. And you're going to realize, whoa, this wasn't happening a month ago or a year ago or 10 years ago. This happened right now. And not on the first one, but like the 10th or 20th one, you're going to start saying, I did that. I changed the way I'm speaking the language of the gods, changed the way I'm feeling about something, and now different weird coincidences are popping up that match those feelings. So let's say you're thinking about, you create this imaginary scenario that you have a great big pirate's chest, like 3 feet tall, 6 feet wide, 4 feet deep. And this is full of cash, and you can open it up in your mind's eye every single morning and get in there with your hands and feel the $100 bills or the gold coins, whatever you dream up that makes you feel rich. And if someone asked you, like an hour after you did that, do you know what it feels like to be rich? Even though in the quote-unquote real world you're not rich, you would say, I know exactly what it would feel like. I just experienced it an hour ago. And I'm telling you, your subconscious mind will feed you, when you play this game, it will feed you the exact feelings that you would have if you actually had a pirate's chest full of cash.
Cool.
And yeah, cool. And since feelings are self-fulfilling prophecies, you may not ever end up with a big chest where you put all your cash and you have $6 million in one place, because you maybe wouldn't do that. It'd be too easy for someone to pull up with a pickup truck and steal it, right? But things can happen to you. Opportunities can come, businesses, windfalls, ideas, all kinds of things can happen that match the feelings that you generate on purpose by imagining you have this big pirate's chest full of money.
Cool.
Now, I'm telling you, when I did this, I started to have so much money come at me in different ways so fast that I literally had to slow it down a little bit by using the same language of the gods, because it was overwhelming. That's how powerful this is. And once I did it with money, I started doing it with everything. My relationship, my fitness level, everything and anything. And I'm telling you, there is no more fun way to live. You get to go back to being a child. You get to live in your imagination, but I'm going to warn you, don't tell anyone what you're doing. Because for the same reason you were taught to quit living in your imagination, people will try to talk you out of doing it now. They'll tell you, hey, you got to live in the real world. You got to get your head out of the clouds. You got to get with the program, right? You've heard that a million times. But I'm here to tell you that your real power lies in your ability to imagine and pretend and generate the feelings of the life you want. Those feelings, yeah, please.
So many things in this world, and this comes up a lot, is related to your point of view. If you view the world as being difficult, your subconscious is going to look for proof that everything is difficult.
That's right.
If you view the world as being an opportunity, your subconscious is going to help you try to see the opportunities that really have been there all along, but you've just not paid attention to, or you've not acted on. And so this whole idea of being in, and I'm going to use my words, being in the frequency of gratitude and opportunity and being willing to take action when you see the opportunity, that's very powerful.
You just mentioned your subconscious mind, so I'm going to give you and your listeners a little tidbit that I normally don't go into at this point. I let you download the book, and if you're interested at this point, then people download the book and find out the rest. But I'm going to tell you something before we sign off. Sultan Musa of Mali is the author of a well-known fairy tale. We're all familiar with the story, Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. And he embedded the secrets of this near-death experience that he had in this fairy tale. And I'm going to give you the 3 elements of the fairy tale and explain what they represent. And it'll become crystal clear to you when I do it. Antoine Galland, who published Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, was honest about this. He didn't write the story. He just translated it from old Arabic texts written by Sultan Musa of Mali. But there were 2 of them, and he only published the fairy tale. He didn't publish the second parchment, the part that explains what the fairy tale means. And yet he understood it, and he did it because he became very wealthy, famous, but he was terrified to talk about that second parchment because it talked about spirit bodies and this language of the gods and a man made of light and love and all these things that terrified him. He didn't dare utter it. He thought he'd lose his position in both government and academia. But I'm going to go through the first 3 elements of the fairy tale, Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, and explain what they mean. So the first thing you have, the first character, is Aladdin. Aladdin represents you, or that part of you that you think of as you. It's the conscious mind. Then you have this all-powerful genie who can get you anything you want if you know how to summon it and command it in the only language it hears, responds to, and obeys. And that's the language of the gods, feelings. The all-powerful genie represents something that Musa called the veiled mind, but we're familiar with the concept of a subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the mechanism that's controlling your life, your subconscious mind. And it feeds your conscious mind all of its feelings, all of its thoughts in every situation, and it will keep your life congruent with what it believes, the role it believes you're playing. Okay, but who told it what role you're playing? You did. You are right now by the way you feel about anything and everything. And it will then say, your wish is my command, and keep your life congruent with your predominant feelings. Okay, the next and best part of the story is the magic lamp, right? The magic lamp changes everything for Aladdin. It's what makes him rich, gets him his beautiful wife, and they have a beautiful relationship. It's the magic lamp. Well, what's the magic lamp? It's a piece of knowledge or understanding about the communication that's taking place between your conscious and subconscious minds, between you, the character Aladdin, and this all-powerful genie that's inside of you, that if you talk to it in the right way, it will get you anything you want. And if you talk to it in the wrong way, it will still obey you. It will make you as poor as a church mouse if that's what you command it to do in the language of feelings. It'll make you sick. It'll make you unloved. It'll make you a criminal. Or, depending on what you say in this language, can make you the most honorable, loved, wealthy, wonderful person on earth. It's all up to you. Download my book, Learn How to Speak the Language of the Gods. You could be doing it by tonight. You can change how you feel about anything by using your ability to imagine and pretend. And I'll leave you with one last thought. If I were to ask you, when is the last time you really felt what it's like to be independently wealthy? Just more money coming in than you could spend in a lifetime. Or what does it feel like to be loved the way you want to be loved on your terms? What does it feel like to be fit, healthy, energetic, vibrant? Now, if the answer to these questions is, I don't know the last time I felt that, or never, I've never felt what it's like to be loaded or super fit. Okay, you cannot expect your all-powerful inner genie to create a life for you that you've never commanded it to create in the only language it obeys. And that's the language of feelings. So learn to change your feelings. You can do it. It's easy. I say easy with a little caveat. It's hard because you've been trained not to do this, but you can do it. And once you do it, you'll see the evidence that it works. You'll see these little coincidences start popping up. And the more you do it, the bigger they'll get, and they'll build on each other. This is how you change your life. Change your feelings, change your life. Download my book, absolutely free. I don't want any money from you. Listen to the book and start speaking the language of the gods in the way you want to, the way you want your life to be. And see what happens. You don't have to take my word for any of this.
From a practical standpoint, because I'm all about the whole practical, that's the title of the podcast, the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey, right?
Yeah, I love it.
The first step might be to figure out what the heck you want, right? Because so many people, I'm not happy. Well, why not? Well, they don't really know. They don't really know what they want. They just know where they are and what they've had in the past. So you have to figure out, do you actually want a relationship? Or do you not? Do you actually want XYZ amount of money? Or do you want ABC amount of money? What do you actually want? And then what steps do you take to get there? That might be, I want to get there through business. I want to start a business. Or no, I just want to win the lottery. Whatever thoughts come in, you have to give yourself time to focus on what the heck you want your life to look like.
That's real wisdom, Jean. And I'll give you a little tip on this. Because you don't know and you might get it wrong if you say, how much money do I want? Of course, you're going to go to, 300 billion. Okay, but I'm telling you right now, most people, you don't really want 300 billion. When I had several million, I was spending so much time with tax attorneys and even the sheriff because people were trying to rip me off all the time. And No, there's a right amount, but start with, how would I like to feel about money? If you start by identifying the feelings, how would I like to feel in my relationship? Then you'll avoid the, who do I want to be married to? Okay, he's got to be 6'7" and 240 pounds of rock solid muscle. And that guy, that may not be what you really want. If you were married to that person, you might have constant feelings of inferiority or worry that he's going to run off with someone else. I mean, so get to, how do you want to feel in a relationship? Because you want to feel secure. You just want to feel loved. You want to feel like, I love this person too. Identify those feelings and start building scenarios around things that would make you feel the way you want to feel. And then you'll get it right a lot faster.
And you brought up an interesting point. So many of my business clients who want more money, I'm like, okay, so what's your target? Oh, it's $1 million. They don't even have any feelings attached to $1 million. It's a number they've heard people say over and over and over. I'm like, well, why don't we just try for doubling your profit? Why don't we start something that you can actually understand and you feel has a chance of actually happening and happening fairly quickly, right? Not a nebulous number that you have no point of reference. And another thing that sometimes I have clients do is find pictures. If they're visual people, they have, we as humans, we can sometimes learn differently or desire differently. Some people like hearing sounds. Some people like seeing pictures, right? So in order to figure out what the heck they want, some people will do vision boards, right?
Yep.
To help them get clear on, what do you want? Do you want more travel? Is that your idea of being rich? You can afford to travel. And it's the feeling that the traveling gets you, the new experiences that you can have now that you have the money. It's not what might be important for somebody else is watching the numbers go up in their bank account. Well, for some people, the number doesn't mean anything if they can't use the money, right?
That's right.
So we're all different in how we decide what's important to us.
Yes.
But you have to come up with something that makes you feel excitement when you think about actually having that thing or that bank balance or that person or that animal that you've always wanted, a pony, right? But you have to have a place to have the pony. So you have to figure out how to support the pony's lifestyle, right?
Perfect wisdom, Jean. That's just dead on.
So you need a point of reference and you need to create that for yourself. But some people will call it a vision, right? You get the vision and then you get the feelings that allow that vision to come into being.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you'll find you're very good at saying things like, what would it feel like, fill in the blank. So what would it feel like to have plenty of money coming in every month? And a number is going to pop into your head. Your subconscious mind loves this game, and it will feed you the answers. It will feed you the feelings. When you ask, what would it feel like to be loved the way I want to be loved? Boom, you're going to see a picture almost like a little mini movie is going to break forth where a person is loving you the way you want to be loved. And you can almost say, holy crap, that person had brown hair and was this tall. And your subconscious mind knows of everything that you want because it's already out there. And our subconscious minds are connected. Your subconscious mind is connected to all knowledge, all wisdom. It already knows where that perfect sweetheart for you is. Or if you're already married and you want to fix your marriage, it already knows the answer. It knows the solution. And it can bring it to you. It can bring it to your spouse. Maybe it's your spouse who needs to see a certain video or talk to a certain somebody. Your subconscious mind already has access to all of that. Your job is to generate the feelings and flood them over your subconscious mind, the feelings of what it is you want. And it takes those feelings as direct commands. And then it says, the only other thing it says after it asks, what is your wish? It says, your wish is my command. Flood it with the right feelings and let it go do its job, which is to make your physical world, to make it congruent with your predominant feelings. Your job is just change your feelings. Feel the way you want to feel about your life, every aspect of it. And then your subconscious mind will start feeding you what I call nudges. You're going to get different nudges. Hey, go talk to this person. Hey, next time your boss comes over and says whatever he says, put this information out. Say this back. You're going to get different nudges that will lead you right into the life that your subconscious mind believes you're supposed to have based on your predominant feelings. And you can prove to yourself that this is the way it works. You don't have to listen to me. But download my book. I've got lots of tips and information in there of how to do it. You need a little coaching on this because you've been trained your whole life since you're about the second grade to not do this, to stop doing this, to live in the real world. Get your homework done. Get your job on time. Focus on your problems. Focus on solutions to these problems. Well, how does that make you feel? Yeah, and that's why you still have those problems. All right, I'll leave it there because there's so much to cover, and at some point you just got to say, get the book, start this new hobby. I'm telling you, it is the most exciting new hobby, new way to live that you will ever embark on.
So the book that he's talking about, the link is right below in the show notes for anybody who's interested. Just click on the link. It'll take you right there. You are also all over the internet, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. What's your website for those listeners who don't want to actually read the show notes?
If you look up Sultan's 7 Secrets, takes you right to me. The Sultan's 7 Secrets is the name of my book. It's the name of our institute. It's the name of just about everything we do. Has Sultan's 7 Secrets in it somewhere.
Cool. Or just click on the link below. That's the easy way.
Yeah, download the book. It's free. I want you to have it. And you can start there.
So we're about out of our time together. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
I think we've about covered it. Do you have any questions? Anything that you see as maybe a hole? Anything I've left out that people should know about?
It sounds very simplistic, but of course we look for problems, right? So the first thing that comes to mind is, yeah, but how long is it going to take me to learn that?
You already know how to
make it a practice, right?
Yeah, Jean, you already know how to do it. And here's the reality that when you start living in a make-believe world that makes you feel good, the very fact that you feel so good doing it will keep you doing it. And then when you see a few little circumstances change, coincidences pop up, you're going to realize it's not just the most fun way to live, it's the most productive way to live. And so you're going to feel like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, finally. And you'll want to do it, you will do it, and things will change in your life. I guarantee it. We got story after story after story. They come in every day.
Cool. So I guess that's going to be it for this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. I want to thank my guest, Jeff Buehner, for being here with me and giving us this very easy exercise that I think we just need to start embracing.
Thank you, Jean. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So until next time, thanks to all my listeners for being here. I really enjoy our time together. I enjoyed my special guest. Thanks again, Jeff. And until next time, this is Jean Buehner.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Energy work to better your business. Hosted by energy healer Jean Buehner. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey.